this extreme gas price. You know my opinion on it?
What's that?
Saudi Arabia is pushing the gas price up. They're making us pay for those super weapons when we go and buy gas at the gas pump. And eventually Saudi Arabia, through this expensive price on crude oil, they're going to get these sophisticated weapons totally free. And I don't mean to really hammer Mr. Bush all the time. I had to vote for him the other time because I voted for the lesser of two evils. But I can't believe that anybody that has the avenue of information through the CIA and all the other world investigative organizations would sell super weapons to a terrorist country like Saudi Arabia. And that's why I'm mad as a hornet today. Thank you for listening. I hope some of you other people will hear this and call in mad as everything now about gas prices when they know that they're buying weapons for a terrorist country. Thank you much.
Hey, I appreciate you calling in. It must not bother the Bush administration. 16 of the 19 hijackers supposedly coming from Saudi Arabia. We need to make sure that country's well armed, apparently. He said that the secret session of Congress probably had more to do with the administration's efforts to pass the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act than with any compelling new information about national security. I like how Mr. Bush has used 9/11 not only to legitimize war with any nation he chooses, but also has decimated our Fourth Amendment and constitutional rights and put Americans under the microscope as suspect. Our mainstream media condones these activities, so thus the American people blindly accept it as necessary. It also has been rumored that in the secret session of Congress, they discussed the possibility of economic collapse and what measures to take in case that event came true. I would also like to report that this past week, power changed in Russia. Medvedev, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, takes control of Russia's nuclear arsenal. Newly inaugurated president on Wednesday formally assumed control of Russia's nuclear arsenal at the Kremlin, meeting in which a military officer brought him a black nuclear briefcase. Now, don't you think this should lead off the evening news? I didn't see it one time in the news. Mr. Medvedev, who was sworn in to succeed Vladimir Putin earlier, took command in the presence of Defense Minister Antony at a meeting that contrasted with his glittering inauguration ceremony. "Allow me to give you control of the strategic forces of the country," said the officer carrying the nuclear briefcase, in images shown on state television. The nuclear briefcase, a symbol of political power in Russia since the Cold War, is shrouded in secrecy but believed to contain a small computer with activation codes for nuclear missiles. Russia's first post-Soviet president, Boris Yeltsin, reportedly came close to using the briefcase in January of 1995 when a research rocket launched from Norway activated Russia's early warning system. This, to me, got very little press at all. Some guy we've never heard of is handed the briefcase containing the codes to launch thousands of nuclear weapons. I find it amazing that this guy has 20,000 nuclear weapons at his fingertips, and the government and the media just goes business as usual, no problem. Not to mention the countries that broke away from the Soviet Union with nuclear weapons, and it's uncertain who has control of them or if they even have them at all. Next, I'd like to report that the Pentagon launches foreign news website. So this was reported April 20th in the New York Times. The Pentagon is setting up a global network of foreign language news sites, including an Arabic site for journalists to write current event stories and other content that promote U.S. interests and counterinsurgent messages. The new sites are part of a Pentagon initiative to expand information operations on the Internet. Neither the initiative nor the source has been disclosed publicly. Now, that was April 20th. On May 5th, Republican Rosa DeLauro, Democrat from Connecticut, and 40 other lawmakers sent a letter to the Pentagon inspector General demanding an investigation into the department's propaganda program, which was first revealed by the New York Times. We write to express our deep concerns over an extreme troubling report recently published in the New York Times detailing a high-level, well-thought-out, and extensive program within the Department of Defense to use military analysts to generate positive news coverage of the war in Iraq, conditions at Guantanamo Bay Detention Center, and other activities associated with the global war on terror. We believe this is unethical and potentially illegal, a propaganda campaign aimed at deliberately misleading the American public should have been disclosed long ago by your office and not by a newspaper that needs to resort to suing the DOD for this kind of information. I found that story to just be amazing. It was reported some in the press, but very little. Each week we do a poll, and this week on our poll we had false flag, government-sponsored terrorism, Reverend Wright, the Patriot Act and its supporters, Hillary's gas tax plan, those who condone murder to steal oil, and North Carolina's obstruction of the third-party candidates. We had 37 votes in all, and the winner is false flag, government-sponsored terrorism. This week we only had a couple of emails, and there's only one that I want to read, and this comes from a Mr. Steele. You have reported some interesting news that wasn't reported by the mainstream press that I checked out, and they were true. But you should be ashamed for being so condescending on the government. Well, Mr. Steele, I'm not ashamed that I don't accept my country being overwhelmed by illegal aliens. I'm not ashamed that I don't accept all of our factories closing and our jobs being sent to China and Mexico. I'm not ashamed that I don't accept our currency being debased and our constitutional rights decimated. But I am ashamed of you, Mr. Steele, for being willfully complicit with the policies that are destroying America. Next week, our guest is going to be Pastor Baldwin, candidate for the Constitution Party. We're happy to have him. We've still got some DVDs available here, Freedom to Fascism. You can email us on air at therealnewsradio.com if you have suggestions or if you've got questions you'd like for us to read on the air. Our website's therealnewsradio.com. I want to thank WSIC for giving us this forum. And until next week, this is Farron on The Real News saying, God help us all.